All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise? Welcome to the Tuesday Rotary Show. And we will begin with a song under the direction of our Ellen Bird. Page 19. Page 19.
It's a great song. Here we go. Oh, I got it. At a later time in life, it's time to go. Okay. This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country. This is my country, land of my choice. This is my proud voice. I lift my guns.
Sound is really cool.
Would you please join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which we stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please join in meditation or prayer as you choose, as I say, bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen.
Amen.
Two quick announcements. One, don't forget your Queen of Hearts cards if you are inclined to purchase one.
Yep.
And two, although this may not be pretty, my heavens, this nice collection of recyclable bags speaks to the future success of our program with Cape Charles Christian. So the buffet is open, ladies and gentlemen. Guests, including Dave Kabler. Please step forward. Go first. And ladies, please.
Ranger Bill just walked in.
Oh,
He goes to
good.
the front of the line.
Okay. All right, please. Buffet is open. Go ahead.
You're our guest.
Oh, man. Do that.
Yeah.
You're pushing
Get
on.
up there.
All right.
Go ahead.
Oh.
I gave me a chip. He's on his way there. He's not going to Mexico. And then are you heading out soon? We're heading, my wife's heading to Mexico on the plane. Okay. We're going to 25th. 5 weeks ago. We enjoy it.
I'm sitting right there.
It's really nice. Yeah. Good time to get away. Yeah. Hopefully we get more sun. We'll work on it. You guys, it's a nice sun.
That's
Okay, so I don't know.
well, okay, that's great.
No, I think there was Jackson Ron.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Good to see you.
Bob Brew, he's a member.
Nice to meet you today. Nice to meet
So, all right, let's talk. We'll, I'll get some coming in. And, why don't you, I'm just gonna seat you guys over here, because I know there's some. All right.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, and this. President.
Oh, nice. Thank you for making that. I really appreciate that.
Goes fast.
Great. Very exciting. You get a seat, you get a seat. Hey, brother. Sorry.
Oh. So, anyone else is fire.
I'm good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, good to see you.
How you doing, Dave?
Hey, Tommy, doing fine. How you getting along?
It's been getting along well.
Good. I see Mark Schaefer every now and then.
Yeah, Mark's working with Troy. We retired
Yeah.
from construction part anyway. So they're carrying it on. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm coasting along in retirement myself.
Okay.
I take on a few projects, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, I can pick and choose. I'm consulting and permit expediter.
Yeah, good. It's really helpful, man. I tell you what. God,
Permitting process is a pain in the rear end.
I can't imagine, but you know all about that.
I've been. I know how to work them a little bit.
Things are getting back to normal finally.
Yeah, I think pricing's come back down to, never go back where it was, but it's at least come down a little more reasonable.
No, that was outrageous. That was a fluke, It was that was not good for the economy.
That was another reason I went ahead and I didn't need that. I didn't need that stress, and
Yeah,
I had enough.
No.
but I've sold a few of your homes, man. I mean,
Have you?
yeah, you can tell a Tommy Arnold house, man. I tell you what.
We tried to do them right.
Oh yeah, I'd say we're right, man. Right.
I appreciate that. Man, you're right. This is delicious.
Oh, I tell you, we are in heaven. You might consider changing clubs.
Man, I'm telling you. We're so. I mean, we have not many choices.
No, you don't.
Really don't. I moved us there when I was president the first time in 10 when the captain's deck burned down. We were meeting the captain's deck and that's why.
Is that So Ken, do you like the atmosphere?
Yes.
Some of us are a little nutty, but most of them are pretty good guys and girls.
Oh, really?
Dave, of course, is one of our good ones. Hope Dave.
Try to keep some kind of harmony.
Yeah, what are you eating?
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
let me in. I'm trying to get on my iPad.
Okay, wait a second. There are some people who want to get in here. You're coming back in again?
I'm coming on my iPad. I want to see how my iPad works with it.
Oh, I think this one is better.
No, he's just giving me a hard time because I hadn't been here in a few months.
How about a few years?
Oh. Well, I've been on Zoom a lot,
Yeah,
I'll tell you
Zoom,
right
yeah.
now, but,
We haven't really had where we could touch you, David. Oh, Jack, you're getting all kinds of feedback.
Jackie, we've got you in duplicate.
Yeah, I know. I'm switching to my iPad.
Look, don't experiment on
Okay, you
your-
have to turn the sound off of one of them because it.
Yeah, I know. I just had it on. I know I have to turn the sound off. Give me a break.
Okay.
Can't do everything right away. Okay, Kelly sound.
Turn the other one off.
you working or with grandchildren? He's still working or with grandchildren?
She's with her grandchild, 13 months old, maybe 14. I'm not sure.
Yes.
The same age as mine. My newest one.
Really?
Yeah. 14-month boy.
And where is that boy?
They are in Timonium, Maryland.
Oh, not too far away.
No, they just moved from Austin. So
Oh, you're happy about that.
absolutely.
So how many do you have in total?
5. So 4 in Australia. And then one here. Yeah. So we rarely get to see them. They'll be here this year.
They like staying there, or they live there?
No, our daughter moved there. How long ago? Probably 20 years ago. So she met an Australian guy at church camp, and yeah.
Okay. So have you been there yet?
Well, I was there before she moved there, but not since.
Holiday? I mean,
Yeah. So I used to take students on trips overseas, and so one year we went to Australia. So,
were you at a private school?
no, public school.
No, it's not.
Let's go
Yeah.
to Australia.
Now, there's a place for them. Right? Is that for you, slot purpose? It's an education also.
Possibly,
Is she on the East Coast?
She is on the East Coast, south side of Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the 90s, we had an Australian family move to Cape Charles. And they bought up like they really jump started the restoration. I mean, they did about 6 houses in a year.
Oh, wow.
And really interesting family. And in 1996, when things were still really slow here. I mean, so
Were you here then? You were here then?
oh yeah. I moved here in 1988 with my kids. And tried to get involved in the scene here. It was really a tough slog there for a few years there.
I coached your boys 1 year in soccer at Indian Town.
Yeah. Well,
I knew nothing about soccer.
it's okay. You know, my daughter, Laura, you know, Laura Morgan, Charles Morgan's wife. You know, Laura, she was on the phone with me last night. They live in Quinby. And she said, Dad, thank you for moving us to the Eastern Shore.
Where did you move from?
Virginia Beach. I was a fish out of water here. It was,
Well, you've been here now.
well, it's been a great career. I've probably handled half the houses in town.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's kind of a closed community when you came here?
Well, there wasn't much of a community here. The town was halfway empty, you know. Really different place. And
There's a film on the town website from 1991. And I guess they were working on the stormwater drains. So the police went up and down the street, like with a camcorder, filming every house. And now you don't see the whole house. You see like somebody holding it here. So you get about the first story of every building. But it is worth looking at for people who say we should go back to what it was like in the early 90s. You don't want to go back to what that was. Yeah, I put it all kind of
If you knock that over, Tommy.
You're setting me up for failure.
We found it a couple of months ago. I don't remember exactly where it is on the website.
are you with the town of Cape Cod?
I was, but not at, now that.
Yes, he just changed roles.
That's true.
He's now manager. Ken was what, you zoning compliance officer, and he was elected to the town council last fall and took office January.
Out of pork and beef.
Okay, Perez.
All right, we're coming to the recording, huh?
Hey there.
Yes.
Welcome to today's program. And we've got a big program, both because we've got an annual meeting coming up. We got some great speakers. I'm going to start by introducing our guests who are all over at this far table. We have Gary Anderson and Bill Dias and Bob Brewer, two Rotarians, and Bill Dias, you'll be hearing more about his role. He's with the school district, and they're going to be telling us about what I think is a really exciting reading program. We have, a very special guest, Tom Arnold, president of the Rotary Club.
Stand up,
Hello,
Tommy.
Tommy. I didn't know he was there.
Thank you. Stand up.
He came really early.
Could we begin with the annual meeting? And this is required in the bylaws, and basically we're going to elect our officers for the following year. The list was announced last week, and Bill Murphy, I believe, thank you. Would you come on up or stand up and just tell us, and give us the list again?
All right, well, I hope I don't forget any. Well, we got a lot, so in the interest of saving time, here's their slate of officers for 23-24. Dr. Mark Clark is now our president-elect. Nominee. I will continue as vice president. Our treasurer is Jackie Chapman. Secretary is Dolores Blackford. Sergeant at Arms, Bob, or Kim Roberts, I'm sorry, I was looking at. And let's see, also, and Director at Large, yeah, thank you. That's going to be Katie Nunez.
Hey!
In addition to that, Holly Carpenter has agreed to serve as our interim member at large on the board until July, when she will become a member of the board by being president nominated.
Yes.
You should have told me to bring my notes. This is hard.
Wonderful. All right.
Close the nomination.
I beg your pardon? You
Move
move.
to close the nomination.
Do we have a second? I guess we have to move. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Could we, let's call the question, and this is to vote on the slate of officers for next year.
I move we accept the slate.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Whoop, sorry. Bill and Paul. All in favor of the slate of officers as announced, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Because you have to run again. You have to run if you say no. Okay. Motion carries. And now motion to adjourn, please. And second.
Second.
By Paul and Bill, and all in favor say aye. All right, congratulations to the new officers and congratulations to the whole club, because I think it's a really good slate. Now we have a couple of new members to announce. They have been approved, they've been nominated and their nominations approved by the board of directors. They are Ken Buddha, who is here, and Gary Bowers also. And so their names will be in review for a week. If you have any objections, please contact me. And I look forward to welcoming them as full members next week. Now, let's see here. So, we have some announcements. Holly. First off,
All right, a couple weeks ago, keep being wrangled into these things. I was appointed to speaker chair. And I stood up here doing happy dollars. And I said, anybody brings me speakers and with a couple of dates, I'll put 5 happy dollars in. So we're gonna start the happy dollars. So Chip put in for 2, Joan put in for 1, and Meddy put in for 1. So that's 20 happy dollars.
whoa, very good. I'm sorry, is your name John Burtis?
See, by the way. So
Okay.
that brings us to one challenge. Everybody in this club can at least bring 1 speaker forward this year, 2023. So think about that. We have 4 dates to fill for February, March. So February 14th, 21st, and 28th, and then March 28th. So I need somebody to bring speakers to me for those dates, and there'll be 20 more happy dollars if we get them. You have 1 week to do that. They gotta meet till next week in order to do that. And then obviously beyond that, any dates beyond that are still open. So bring them in.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Holly. And now we have nothing from Bill Strand. Would you come on up?
As your Rotary Foundation Chair, I have a great announcement here. I have 2 Paul Harris Fellows to present. The first is to Jim Rich.
Hey!
Paul Harris, +1. This next one, I'm very honored to present to Bill Payne.
Wow.
Paul +8. Which means the next one is Major Dunham.
I don't have $1,000.
In your pocket? We'll give you till next week, Bill.
Jackie wanted to you.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. There was mention of Joan Natali. Please keep her in your prayers. She was in the hospital yesterday and had some surgery. I believe it was on her foot, but at any rate, please keep her in your prayers. And if anyone has the details on, and I've already forgotten Charlie Dickinson, yes. Do we have any updates on Charlie Dickinson?
He's supposed to be coming home this week.
Okay, very good. We need to do something for both, especially for Joan. So
I think it was Rusty that brought it to our attention, wasn't it? Rusty.
I'll find out. Let's see here. That brings us to, of course, on that happy note, let's ask for happy dollars. Who's happy today? Bill?
I've got $15 happy. I started out at 5 and it's grown down. I've got 5 because we finally got our slate of officers solid for next year. I'm very thankful for that. I've also got 5 to see my good friend and our good friend Dave Kepler back with us.
Yeah, very good. Welcome, Dave.
Got another 5 for my good friend from Exmoor, Tommy Arnold is here today.
Oh,
I'm glad
good.
to see him here. It's good to see him again.
All right, bravo. Welcome, welcome. Yes, Bill.
I also have 15
Oh, my.
and I'm pretty much a copycat on this, but one of my favorite people is Tommy Arnold, so 5 for Tommy. And then I have a new friend who's way across the room, Gary Anderson, who I met at the district conference back in October, and my life has been changed ever since.
Wow.
What? Are you not preaching a revival person?
And then the other 5, I'm delighted that David is back with us. I gave him a big hug when he came in.
But you held your breath and you were kind of.
No, I coughed on him.
Well, and the welcome back is sincere.
I'll give $15 happy. In response, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, everybody, for a warm welcome back. I'm sorry to have been absent so long. Thank you. No excuses. No excuses.
No, we're going forward. We don't look back.
I'm going to give $5, just $5. This is for Bill Payne, who organized a wonderful youth development committee meeting, and to produce one of the best project lists I have ever seen in more than 25 years in Rotary. So, and in fact, I'm going to send it around to everybody. So there's 5, and you probably would be worth putting in $1 million, but 5. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time, unless there's any others, I think it's time to turn the floor over to our guest speaker, Gary Anderson, and who's going to tell us about this exciting possible replacement for our dictionary distribution program. So, oh, and on that note, there will be a meeting of the board of directors. How many? Raise your hand if you're on the board. How many people do we have? Good. Okay, we got a quorum. So there'll be a meeting after today's meeting to talk a little bit more about what Gary's proposing. Thank you,
Jim. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Bill. And first, I'd like to give you kind of where we are with this program right now, and then how we got started in it. I'm a Rotarian, and I love Rotary. Rotary is a very powerful organization, and I'm new to Rotary, but very excited. So I went to my first Rotary convention in Richmond, and I was doing this program in Suffolk and had some books. And Bill Payne comes up to me and says, "What's this all about?" So that started a connection with Bill that's really been wonderful and exciting and moving this forward. And so what I told him, that the whole county of Suffolk is participating in this program involving 7,500 children and their families. And our goal is to light literacy fires in homes, especially homes that don't have a literacy fire like ours. All of our homes have literacy fires. It doesn't mean that we read all the time, but many of us read all the time. So I said, Suffolk, 7,500 families are joining. Now Virginia Beach has joined us with 33,000 families. And I said, would you like to join us, Bill, in this project to build literacy fires in homes? And Bill said, well, that sounds really interesting, but I need to know some more information about it. So I have connected with Bill and Sharon about this program. And through that connection, he's introduced me to Jim. And Northampton County has totally signed on for this program. Northampton, I delivered 1,000 books to Northampton School Board before I came to this meeting. And I'll explain what I'm talking about. So it's very exciting to have Virginia Beach, Northampton, and Suffolk. They'll all be doing the same book. We ordered from Random House over 15,000 copies of the same book, and we're distributing it to the families. So what this program is about is I am a retired school psychologist. I put 37 years in public education. I never got out of elementary school. There's more truth to that. I went through elementary school and then, you know, went on and got a degree. And then they put me right back in elementary school for the next 30 years. I used to play kickball. I had 4 children of my own, but in elementary school, I'd go out and play kickball with some of the students that were referred. Or I would sit in the classroom and talk with the students. As a matter of fact, I had this little I had 3 sons and a daughter, and we used to play cars, you know, those little toy cars. I would bring that into my office, and I'd get on the floor with some of the students that I had referred to me, and we play cars, you know. I wanted to engage them and to understand what was going on in their lives. Their lives oftentimes was very different than my life, you know. By the grace of God, you know, I had 2 parents, and we had a relatively normal household, and things were relatively normal. But many of the children that I had referred to me, they didn't have that. They didn't have. I remember working with Alvester, and he had never been to a mall in his life. He had never. Their lives were very different, and many times their lives were enmeshed in poverty, real poverty, where you don't have the things that. And so I became a school psychologist in the 70s and the 80s, and I was testing these kids and putting them in special education, but nothing changed. I couldn't tell you, the students that have referred to me, they still were in this kind of track, I don't know what you call it, that teachers were trying harder, schools were trying harder. These kids a lot of times hit a wall in the 3rd grade. They experienced so much failure in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They weren't making the success. They weren't enjoying their education. And I would talk with them and I'd say, how do you like school? It's okay. How do you really like school? They would say, I hate school. When you got down on the floor with them, you're playing cards. I hate school. And that hit me like, you really hate school? You know, there were parts of school, parts of teachers, whatever, that all of us don't. So I stayed in through the 70s and 80s, just doing my job. And I became very frustrated. Here's what happened to me. 2 men were sitting on the riverbank, and they're sitting there, and here comes a child being carried downstream. Help, help! Both men jump in the river. They rescue the child, bring the child back to the riverbank. Just about the time they get back, here comes 2 more children being swept downstream out to the bay. Swept. Help, help! Again, they jump into the river. They rescue these 2 children. They're getting back to the bay, getting back to the bank. And here comes 5 children being swept downstream out to the bay. One of them takes off to go help to rescue the child. The other one takes off and starts running upstream. Where are you going? These children need your help. I'm going upstream to tackle the strong man that's throwing these children in the river. I can almost remember sitting at my desk in Hanover, Chickahominy middle school. That's when and I did that same thing figuratively. I realized there were so many children not being successful, falling through the cracks. One of the statistics that you've heard about is they count the number of prison beds by how many children fail in third grade. And I mean, they're not picking up reading. So I went upstream with some of my colleagues, other psychologists that lived in the Richmond area, and said, what can we do to change this? We were looking for a prevention model. This book encapsulates exactly what I'm talking about. It is a great book. You can get it for about $10 on Amazon. And it says the quest to solve problems before they happen. And that's what Northampton, Lisa Martin, and that's what Northampton and the Rotary clubs in Suffolk are buying into, is that how can we solve problems before they happen? Because remediation, $1 spent in prevention is worth $100 spent in remediation. If you can prevent a problem before it happens, and that's what this whole program is about, preventing the problem before it happens. So how do you do it? I'd never heard of this. In 1995, I came into the same office and I was looking. There's got to be some way to prevent so many children falling through the cracks. And so this book, the 4th edition of the Read Aloud Handbook, was sitting on my desk. One of my colleagues put it there. I'd never heard of it. I've been through master programs, doctoral programs at William & Mary. I never heard about the Read Aloud Handbook by Jim Trelease. This guy's a sports writer from Massachusetts. He wrote the first Read Aloud Handbook in 1976. This is one of Random House's top 100 books they've ever published. This is the 8th edition. And basically what it says is if you read aloud chapter books to children, that they will soak it up like a sponge. And it's really investing aloud. It's very simple. There's no shortcut. But if you read aloud this book, the children just listen and soak up the language and soak up the stories. I know I was invited to the White House to speak to Ann Hagelston, Laura Bush's director of projects, and I took a sponge with me. This is 20 years ago, and said, every child I work with is sitting there begging you, once you read aloud a good chapter book, and I mean a good book. Children can listen to chapter books 4 and 5 grade levels above their grade placement. I had never heard of that. So many things. So it was like night and day. It's not about boring them, having them read to you. It's about reading a chapter book. You can also get this off Amazon for $10. These are our 2 main books. And what we want to do is we get 900 copies of a book. And we're going to use El Ray Jakes' magic. This is what we ordered, 15,000 copies of this book. But every elementary student in Northampton are going to receive their own copy of this book. But before they receive a copy, the Rotary Club of Northampton will put a sticker on the front cover of each book. This sticker will have a place where the child will put their name and who supports the program, and it will have a Rotary emblem. That the Rotary Club is building families around books, and they're joining in with the Rotary clubs in Suffolk and some of the Rotary clubs in Virginia Beach, we have different groups. We have community groups, and they enjoy a book. This is a game changer. I have a couple of handouts. This thing about the sticker. So when I was I was a school psychologist in Northumberland, which is very similar to your county. Here, pass that around. And I got this program started in Northumberland. And at that time, when we started in Northumberland, we had about 5 out of 10 students pass the SOL state administered test in 3rd grade. Once we started this program district-wide, only have one of these. Once we started this program, this district-wide, we had 8 out of 10 students pass the reading test. District-wide. Once we started investing aloud in children, every one of them, they're little kids, and they want you to invest in them. They want you as a parent or a grandparent. I have 13 grandchildren. You start reading a book to them, the first thing they're going to say is, Grandpa, read the next chapter. And they're all like that. And so this program is investing in the children and the students here in Northampton County. And it's led by the Rotary Club. I don't have enough, but you can pass these around. And look at this. And they had 2 elementaries in Northumberland, which is very similar to Northampton. So this program is very significant, and it changes in many ways. I think of it as night and day. You know, night was when we were teaching them the old traditional method, which is the same that you and I experienced, basically in the classroom with the teacher being the source of knowledge. And then day is we keep investing books in children, and you can see it in their eyes. I'll tell you 3 quick stories, and then I'll ask questions. One of my schools, one night, the principal was sitting at his desk, and here comes a parent knocking on his door. Yes? And he looks there and he says, that parent has a son in 2nd grade who is a terror. You know, I've tried to get that parent in so often. That parent wouldn't come. And here she is standing at the door. And she said, you know, we just finished our first book, The World According to Humphrey. And so my son brought it home and said that I had to read it aloud. I know, she said, I know how to read. So I sat down and I started reading aloud. My son, you could tell he was listening to that story. And then my daughter, whom I haven't read a book to her since she was preschool, I used to read picture books to her. She's sitting in the room. My husband, who can't read, he's an illiterate waterman in Currituck County. He's listening. And every night we read this book, and the children go to school and do trivia questions. She said, it's really changed our family. And I want to tell you how grateful, and they always do, they always tear up. She said, how this has impacted our family. So Steve Blackstock told me that story. He's principal, and here's the rest of the story, Gary. That mother spends her weekends in jail. She was arrested for drugs, and so she has a tough time. Right at the same night, got another knock on the door, and it's a parent, and it's a single parent, and she said, Mr. Blackstock, my daughter brought home this book. There were so many words on the page. I didn't know if I could do it. But my daughter said, you have to read it aloud. The parent reads aloud. We get to sit and listen. That's all we have to do is listen. No book reports, no anything. All we have to do is sit and listen. So I started the book and she said, you know, my daughter knew some words that I didn't know. We read it together. And you know, it was wonderful. And she teared up. I'm looking forward to doing the next book. There's 2 stories, same next day, a couple days after, one of the bus drivers came in, said, Steve, I've been driving this bus for you, transporting kids for 25 years. My granddaughter brought home this book. Said, you know, my mom, she's a waitress, she works at night. So my granddaughter asked me to read the book. So I read the first chapter. I got on the bus. Every kid on the bus had listened to that chapter. We started talking about the book. She teared up. She said, I've been transporting kids for 25 years, but now I'm part of their education. I want to tell you how much I appreciate that. All the bus drivers get their own copy of the book. Then she said, here's the rest of that story, Gary. Her husband had cancer and had chemotherapy or something. She took off 3 days to take her husband, Norfolk General, whatever, for treatment. She said the substitute bus driver came in there, and sitting in the seat was a copy of the book, the 3 chapters they were going to cover, and discussion questions about it. You can't pay for that stuff. This is night and day. This creates, is it fair for all concerned? Absolutely. Is it beneficial for all concerned? Absolutely. Families, I can tell you a lot of stories about families with doctors, lawyers in the household that reconnected with their families. Dads that came in tears and saying, you know, I've got my family back. We were just at the point of getting a divorce. I'm not saying that happens in every case, but this is a Rotary Club initiation that's happening in Northampton. We hope to have it happen all the way up the Eastern Shore. And it's very exciting. So how about questions? What this does in your communities is it stamps out illiteracy by doing a very common sense approach of starting literacy fires in all these homes, 1 book at a time. You know, any questions about it? Yes.
I have a comment, if I could, please. My daughter started teaching 1st grade at Pungatig Elementary School a year ago. So this is her 2nd year. Well, last year, she invited me to her class to read to the class. So I stopped at the library here, got a pile of books, and I mean, it was a big deal to go to the class and read to these 1st graders.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I was captivated by the attention that they gave me.
Yes.
The kids loved it.
Loved it.
And I mean to tell you, they wanted me to read the whole list of books a 2nd time. So I spent an hour reading to this class. And the next thing I knew, I had to go to another class. Teacher invited me in. And so I know Bill Dias does a lot of work at the elementary school. It's so rewarding. So the reading out loud is amazing. The feedback you get and the attention that they pay. It's amazing. So
thank you for that comment. I call it invest aloud. They'll remember it the rest of their lives. And many times in life, you know, children, parents die, and they come back every time. I had a parent tell me, and I read Charlotte's Web, and my daughter was a tough story. I'm not being, but they remember that time as some of the most significant, loving time of their lives, because it goes on night after night. Any other questions? Yes.
what do you do with families? Unfortunately, on the Eastern Shore, there's probably quite a few families that nobody in the family is literate.
That's a great question. So the Rotary Club, thank you. I was hoping you'd give me that question. So what the Rotary Club did in Suffolk, the downtown Rotary, they asked for members of the Rotary that wanted to record a chapter. So they went into the school and they read chapter 1, somebody else read chapter 2, president of the bank, Bob Aston, read chapter 3, whatever. And so they made an audio book. They made it, the Rotary Club made it. They invited people in the community. And so when the children go home at night, all they have to do, because everybody has a cell phone, is push a little button and they can listen together as an audio form. And some parents, would rather do that anyway, just listen together. Then they have their own copy. Every child has their own copy of the book. And so what some parents do is they follow along and they learn to read through this common shared experience. The children drive this. Every day when they go to school the next day, they have a trivia question and they'll ask, the principal will come on the PA and say, what was the color of Bob's hat? You know, and they'll put red down and then they send it into the principal's office. And then in the afternoon, the principal says, well, we have winners, a kindergarten student. They'll name a kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade student. Come up to the office and get your prize. So they get a coupon for an ice cream. This goes on for a whole month. They love those trivia questions. And at the end of the book, we had Kindles. Amazon gave us some Kindles. So end of the month, they dump all those pieces of paper and then they pick some child will get a Kindle or a nice prize. And the Rotary clubs can come up, they come in during the book distribution. Usually it's an assembly when they distribute the books, the Rotary, like your dictionaries. And then a lot of times they come in for the last day when they do the pulling for the prize at the end of the book. But every club does a little bit differently. So you get hands-on and every one of those labels, more than a label, and there's a picture of the label for that we use for Suffolk. So we're excited in talking to Jim and Bill that y'all are joining in and supporting this program, becoming our community champion in Eastern Shore, which is very powerful. There are 4 pieces to the puzzle. All district reads, we do all the training, suggest books, we have Zoom meetings and work with all the school systems. Then we have a community champion, which is the people in the community that own the program. And we want this to go on for 10 years, 20 years. It's a very warm, engaging, investing in the children of Northampton County. So we have a community champion that steps up. Then we have investors. We find investors in the community that want to help invest in this program to pay for the books. And then we have the last, or maybe I should have said first, we have an enthusiastic school system that wants to participate. And Northampton is already, Lisa Martin is all in, the chairman of their school board. They're enthusiastic and joining in. Any other questions?
Time for us to thank you. And we will do so with a sticker that will go inside a copy of Nate the Great.
Nice.
The Literacy Council here in Northampton County participates in the Dolly Parton Imagination.
Oh, right. Oh, good.
So 3 books go out to kids until 5. And then this is the chapter book that we make possible once they graduate, once the kids are graduated.
Great.
So love your idea.
Thanks. That's perfect.
What?
Go on.
You've got a sense of the many moving parts in this particular program. as opposed to the dictionaries, which we've given out for years. And I think there's always been kind of a level of skepticism about how much they really get used. But because everybody, every child, all 800 children in Northampton County would receive 2 books.
Yes.
One in the spring, one in the fall. The current one is aimed, what level is this?
Upper third, fourth grade.
Third, fourth grade. But it goes to kids in kindergarten and in 6th, all the way through 6th grade. The kindergartners have to have someone read it to them, but the 6th graders apparently enjoy it just as much. And because of all of these reminders, I mean, I really think we're not only going to get a community of kids, but hopefully a community of instructors and the community at whole kind of energized and participating in these books. So I invite every member to join us after this meeting for a brief board of directors meeting. I am going to ask that the club fund this program. And as many of you know, we've had a little bit of extra just sort of sitting in our charitable fund from COVID. And we were kind of looking for both a process to make this possible, and then this, I'm sorry, we're looking for a process to decide on what charity to give that to, and then this arrived, and I think it has just I'm not sure that we could make a better impact on Northampton County with that money, which is about $4,000. We actually have more than that, plenty more of that in our charitable fund. We'll be able to make our budget for charitable donations and that sort of thing. But at any rate, how'd you choose? I'm going to end with a question.
Okay.
How'd you choose Northampton County?
Well, that's a good question. Bill Payne. He talked to me about this program, and so I'm working with a fellow named Bert Smith, who's the CEO. He's joined our board for WHRO. And so I came and presented at that WHRO, and I talked to the superintendent, who's no longer here. I don't know where she is, but she came up afterwards and said, this sounds really interesting. I said, well, I met somebody from Northampton at the Rotary. So that was a connection at WHRO. That's where we have our board meetings, because we're still a relatively new. So that's how we ended up here.
Wow. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Gary. And so, and we are fortunate enough. Oh, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. And by the way, Bill Dias is going to be our contact at Northampton County Schools, and they're going to be helping with the recording and other things. We will be doing, if we go ahead with this, which I certainly hope we will be doing some labeling and distribution in the classrooms like before and more. So with that, it is time for everyone to look at their playing cards and to hold up the moment for the reveal for Queen of Hearts. And who's got, oh, we got King of Diamonds, King of Clubs.
There's your
Sorry,
one.
he's
There's your one.
Ace.
Katie, come on out here. All right. And yeah, Paul, Paul will come up for the final drawing.
Katie, okay, you win. You win $9
You okay?
for today's.
Okay.
Today's part of the collection, and you get to draw from. Look. Now look at it. You get to draw from what's left from this deck. I think there are 48 cards, maybe. And if you get the Queen of Hearts, you win $60.
No heart.
Nope, sorry. So that card gets torn up.
Okay.
And the deck that's drawn from next week gets smaller.
And it's a pot, $60. So remember to buy your cards next week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the Rotary pledge? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it feel good? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Ladies and and number 5 is Chuck. Oh, it's Stan here? Stan's here, I'm sorry.
Will we have fun?
All right, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, go in service. Have a good week.
Hey,
And
Tommy,
board of directors, please.
I'm gonna go
remain
have copies
for
of these
your meeting.
taking to meet with her tonight.
Thank you so much for coming. We want you on board.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was great. I like that project.
Oh, yeah, it is.
we
You
do.
know, my granddaughter is 15 months old and her mother and father read to her every single night before she goes.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting.
Very smart.
She can point to the book, wants them to read, and they've got books in her room and all over
I
the.
can't hear you.
It's a very valuable approach.
Right,
can't
that's
say
what
it
my
again.
parents did. And you know what's ironic? Before I came to this meeting, I was running late because I was having that conversation with somebody about reading, and I think that's gonna be